Behind the 7 mountains and across the 7 blue seas, in a tiny cottage on the edge of a small town, lived a woman who mended things. She mended clothes, of course, knees blown out of children's trousers, elbows worn thin on the sweaters of men who leaned too often on their counters in deep thought. She patched quilts, darned socks, reattached buttons. People paid her a coin or a loaf or sometimes a very important secret. But this woman, whose name might have been yours, was named Lena. She also mended other, less visible things. She mended hopes that had gone threadbare. She mended faith in the future after bad years. She mended the idea that humans could be kind, even when someone would lose their belief in loving kindness of human beings. Her tools were humble. She had a box of scraps, tiny pieces of cotton and wool, too small for garments, but too beautiful to throw away. She had a basket of yarn ends, a jar of mismatched buttons, a handful of bells. When winter came and the nights lengthened like long, narrow roads, people in town grew restless. Some would begin waking up before dawn with their hearts pounding. Some would start to dread the coming of the new year. Some would hear news that was heavy. To some, the sky seemed to be very low. To others, even the snow, when it arrived, felt more like a weight than a wonder. Lena knew very well that some troubles required food, some required money, big, big changes or serious interventions, but she also knew there was a kind of quiet despair, type of trouble, that was only healed by gentle companionship, by feeling seen, by a nod from someone, even if you didn't know whom, reminding you that you're loved, that you matter. So Lena began making stars. Each star started with a small bundle of twigs or rolled fabric, shaped in a star shape. Around that she wrapped cloth or felt, a little body with arms and legs outstretched, as if always running to give hug to the whole world. She would sometimes stuff them with wool, other times with herbs. She would stick in a special crystal or a charm or a bell. She would give them a scarf and a hat. Sometimes a special symbol would be embroidered on the front or the back. On the longest evenings, Lena would sit at her table, lantern burning low, and stitching in silence. She would whisper as she worked, "You, little star, will sit in the window of someone who has forgotten that they're loved. You, little star, will watch over a child who is afraid of the dark. And you, little star, you will remind a lonely traveler far from home that there is still a star above them." When each star was finished, she wrapped it carefully in tissue and slipped it into a small envelope with a scrap of paper that read, "For you, for your heart, for your window." She did not sign her name. The next day she would leave the envelopes where she knew they were really needed. On the steps of the house where the curtains had been drawn all week, in the mailbox of the old man who rarely came out any more. She handed some stars to a child with a little nod saying, "This one is good at keeping watch." Soon the town's windows began to change. In the evenings, as people walked home, they noticed small shapes, silhouetted against the lamp-lit glass. Star-shaped figures were looking out the windows. Some had been placed on windowsills, some were hung from strings, some sat on shelves, some slept on nightstands. Wherever they appeared, they gave the impression that every house had acquired a tiny sentinel. Children invented stories in which the stars traveled at night, visiting one another to exchange news of the human beings they watched over. Adults, although they pretended to be above such things, found themselves oddly comforted by the sight of those little star-shaped friends. A woman who worked late would look up from her papers and see the star in her office window, and instead of feeling utterly alone, she would think, "Hello, star. Thank you for being awake with me." A man sitting in a hospital waiting room would spot a star hanging near the nurse's station and would feel his shoulders relax just enough so that he could wait and trust and pray for the best. One stormy night, when the wind howled and the lights in town flickered, people glanced at their windows. Even if the lamps went out, they knew star charms were still there, stitched full of someone's love and care. Lena never claimed credit for the stars. She didn't care about that. She cared about creating small, bright reminders that even in the longest nights, someone had taken time to shape a tiny star and send it into the world to remind it of loving, kind compassion that is still alive in the world. So when you make a star this year, out of fabric, yarn, paper, or wool, you join this lineage of star makers. In a language beyond words, you say that there is a light that shines just for you. Even when you may not see it, it is there, loving, caring, steadfast. And when you make another star to give to someone, you remind them of these things as well. Sometimes the star above you is in the sky. Sometimes it is in your window. Sometimes it is sitting quite patiently in your own chest, waiting for you to listen. This was the story for you from the realm where fairy tales meet fiber threads at the Magical School of Fiber Arts at the Rose and the Bee. See you soon.